It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. And now here's your host, Geno Jones.
What's happening, everybody? It is showtime. Yes, Geno Jones showtime. Yeah, you're right. I'm Geno. I'm coming to you live. I come to you live Monday through Friday. Unless it's a holiday or something. 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. in Chicago, 3:30 p.m. out in Los Angeles, up in Portland, Oregon, where my firstborn, Lauren Shiana, a.k.a. Boogie, Lauren Shiana Hill Vaughn. Just called her daddy. So, all right, daddy loves you, honey. As soon as I finish the show, I'm going to call you back. Please subscribe to the Geno Jones Show. Please subscribe to my channel. Subscribe, share, like, and binge watch all my back episodes. Tell everybody, or as Nelly would say, tell everybody, friends, lovers, strangers, family, enemies, aliens, I don't care, tell them all to subscribe to the channel and check out the biggest, the best, the baddest show in the business. Tina Turner had a song called Simply the Best. Say no more. And my guest, he is a contributor. He is, matter of fact, part of the Geno Jones family. I'm going to bring him back on. The community advocate, activist, just a brilliant brother, A.J. Davis. Oh, listen, we're about to bring the real. So today, see the theme, all right? Today, we're going to have the barbershop, the beauty shop talk, the conversation that we have in the barbershops, the beauty shops or hair salons, sometimes around the house. But, you know, the barbershop is like the town square. The hair salon, or old school term for the ladies, the beauty shop. It's like the town square, where you talk about any and everything and any and everybody. Unfortunately, sometimes that can be a good thing. So we're going to have that talk. The real. We're going to spit. We're going to talk. I'm going to translate it for you. The real, for those who may not be hip. That is like the real, honest conversation. So we're going to spit the real, as the kids say, about why we all must vote. Now, if you didn't see last night's show and last night's episode, please, I want you to check it out. So basically, my monologue, really my rant, because I was really furious. You may have seen the videotape. So you had Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman, two black women, daughter and mother, who were election workers in Fulton County, Georgia, back in November 2020. And their job was just to make sure that everybody could vote without any problems, that every person's vote was counted accurately. But that wasn't good enough for Orange Hitler. He was pissed off because he lost. So he name-checked these sisters publicly, and all the MAGA goons and MAGAs went after a lot of folks, because they came for the white folks too. They came for the Secretary of State in Georgia, Brad Raffensperger. Look, they came for Mike Pence, literally. They came to the state capitol to hang Mike Pence and built the damn gallows, the hangman, gallows and noose, to hang him. But they really went after these two black women. And I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. The most unprotected, neglected, disrespected person on the planet is a black woman. And that's just another example of why we must vote in every election. From dog catcher to alderperson to councilperson to mayor to county chairman to county president, state representatives, state senators, governors, U.S. senators, United States representatives. Hell, run for president. That asshole did. And he was about as qualified to do that as I am to do brain surgery. I'm just keeping it real, as they say. So we're going to have the real conversation. We're going to have the honest, unadulterated, unfiltered. If your feelings get hurt, hey, we got facts. We don't give a damn about your feelings. I mean, we do, but when it comes to the truth, as my grandmother said, she said, Jeannie, the truth needs no defense. So a man is always spitting the truth. I'm going to bring him on camera. He is, once again, part of the Geno Jones Show family, community advocate, activist, a brilliant young man by the name of A.J. Davis. Darius, thank you for your time, my brother. You see him on camera. So, You and I had a conversation after the show last week when you were my guest, and we said, you know what? We need to have on camera the conversation that the real talk, as they say, the real conversation about voting and dispel all these myths and rumors, and because we've heard it all. Oh, man, my vote don't count, and they really are the lesser of two evils, and they all the same. No, not today. It's a different day. No, they all are not the same. So you and I said, let's have a real conversation that we would have at the barber shop or the beauty shop. So I'm gonna play DJ Cassidy, brother AJ Davis, and I'm gonna let you start and finish the conversation.
Well, first and foremost, again, thank you, Geno, for the opportunity to sit here and kick it with you, and thank you for your passion and advocacy for our community, especially in media, where the stories and perspectives of Black people are not oftentimes put out there in a real and authentic manner. So I want to give you your roses while you can still smell them, brother. So I appreciate this opportunity. And, you know, since the last time we've talked, it's crazy to talk about how, you know, when we got one hurdle going on and thinking, okay, well, we need to recover, strategize for that, it's like we get 5 more thrown at us. So the last time we talked, we mentioned about the Supreme Court basically eroding the Fourth Amendment and how that, as well as the impending erasure of Roe v. Wade was coming up.
AJ, I'm sorry, I want to jump in. I'm stopping you. I want to jump in because for those who are watching, because like I said, we in the barbershop, we in the beauty salon. So for those who are watching who may not understand, okay, what does the Fourth Amendment, some of y'all didn't go to history or civics. We got it. Some of y'all was out there smoking weed when you were supposed to be in civics. So we get it. So AJ, for those who may have forgot, because it might have been a minute, or they just skipped that class altogether, tell them what's in the Fourth Amendment.
The Fourth Amendment protects everyday citizens from illegal search and seizure. So it basically is how officers and members of law enforcement are required to have just cause or justification to enter your home in the exercising of an investigation. So that's where you have warrants and things of that nature to allow them to come in. So that's what the Fourth Amendment, in a nutshell, does as it relates to us as a Black community. Well, the Supreme Court, in a decision a couple weeks ago, basically said that the requirement for law enforcement, in particular, in this instance, the Border Patrol, to execute a warrant entering your home, and if in the process of them entering your home, there's damages or loss of life or injury, you as a private citizen, even if they are determined to be in the wrong, you as a private citizen are not allowed to sue them. Wow. And they're not allowed to be held liable for any damages or any injuries caused by their execution of basically what would be a warrantless entry into your house. So basically, for people who pay attention to the news, even if you don't understand all the terms, when you hear the term fascism or authoritarianism, that's what this is. So when you hear right-wing folks talking about, the government is doing fascism, they're not lying. They're not lying. It's just them that's doing it. And so, to come back since that time, I'm watching the conservative ultra. Let me say this. It's not that the Supreme Court of the United States has never been anything but conservative. That's the other piece. But in the time since we last spoke, the Supreme Court has also issued other opinions that are hilarious in nature. So basically, the big news today was that the Supreme Court is basically making it where states are not allowed to require information leading to concealed carry permits. Like they're basically saying, pursuant to the Second Amendment, Everyone is allowed to hold a firearm for their personal protection, and states are not or do not have the right to require people to fill out an application for a concealed carry. Now, to give the Supreme Court just the slightest bit of credit, the two justices, Kavanaugh and Gorsuch, and I believe Roberts might have been in there, they basically said, now there are certain settings where this won't apply, but in general practice, they're saying that states no longer have the right. This is based on New York state law. New York state law. And so, again, for our folks who may be watching or listening, think about how many black people are in New York. Think about how many in New York City alone, there are probably 5,000 people in lower Manhattan, 5 million people, sorry. The state of South Carolina has a total population of about 5 million, but in one city in New York, you got 5 million people. So you think about how many of those people walking around basically with a gun, not having to have a permit, not having a concealed weapon, something pops off and bam, somebody says, hey, I felt threatened. I felt I needed to protect myself. As it relates to us as black people, think about how often that narrative has been spread. That, oh, I feared for my life. We heard it from cops. We've heard it from individuals who engage with black people. It's always, I fear for my life. So basically this week, the Supreme Court gave a pass. They basically gave the green light to fear for your life and have access to a weapon. But also what's interesting, to bring it home here in South Carolina, this past Saturday, Governor Henry McMaster signed into law legislation allows for medical providers, doctors, dentists, other practitioners of the medical field to refuse medical treatment to individuals based on their religious or moral preferences. I'm going to say that again. The governor of the state of South Carolina signed into law a bill that allows for medical practitioners to refuse service to someone based on their religious or moral objections. Now, the history of that bill basically is a way to target the LGBTQI community as well as the trans community, specifically regarding gender affirming therapies and things of that nature. So what Republicans have been doing for the folks at home, everything that you can think of currently as a right that you have, everything, and I don't care what it is on the chopping block, literally. That's why this is barbershop talk. Everything, all the freedoms we think we have. Go back, think about Botham Jean, who was in his house and got shot by a police officer who claimed she couldn't remember where her apartment was. He got shot. Of course, that woman went to jail, went to prison.
Right.
But think about the defense that they had.
And the dude was dead. That was in Dallas, Texas, a couple years ago. For those who may not remember that story.
Right. This man was in his house and died. Now what we have here in South Carolina, a state which has a high percentage of people, specifically black people, who already complain of medical mistreatment. There's already a body of research out here that talks about the number of people who, without this law being in place, don't get adequate health care or treatment. Now you have a law that allows for, at the discretion of the provider, allows for them to say, I don't want to do certain things. So now, for me, this contradicts the Hippocratic Oath. But also, what we have going on as well, there was a case in Maine where the Maine Supreme Court basically said that because their state cannot provide adequate public education to all of its students, now Maine is allowing for private religious schools to get public dollars for education.
I saw that. I
If
saw that.
folks are not familiar, South Carolina and many other states want to do the same thing. They want it. It may not be worded as such. They can't say that they can't provide quality public education, but they want to funnel public education dollars to private institutions.
And AJ, let me jump in. So
Mm-hmm.
let's tell everybody that's watching in the barbershop or beauty salon or wherever why that people in power want to use public money to go to private or religious schools.
Because it goes back to the history of public education and integration and racism. Private entities, private schools, historically have not had to have the same level of oversight, nor are they required to have the same level of transparency as public schools. What you will find in private schools, especially religious private schools, is not really non-secular curriculum. You also have a smaller percentage of students of color, and those students of color who are in attendance oftentimes are not enough to really push against the status quo. So these dollars also help offset some of the costs that many of these private schools are feeling and seeing, because you've got many parents, many white parents in particular, who are not of the economic status that they would like some to think. And so getting public education dollars can help offset the costs that many of them incur in attempting to send their children to private schools.
And AJ, let me jump in here real quick, and because I really want to put it where, as Brother Joe Madison says, put it where the ghosts can get it. So the reason that a lot of these states are passing these laws also is because basically they want to kind of go back to where we were in the 50s and 60s. Right after the decision, Brown versus the Board of Education, that basically desegregated schools. And it wasn't about, the whole thing about integration, it wasn't about because we wanted our kids, we wanted to be sitting next to white kids. We wanted access to the resources, the same resources that white kids have. So what happened after the Board versus Brown versus Board decision, and you can co-sign or correct me if I'm wrong here, that you had like an explosion of a lot of these quote unquote religious schools because they were allowed to basically to discriminate.
Yes.
And they were allowed to segregate under the, well, this is a Christian school and integration is against our moral teaching. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah.
Okay.
You are absolutely correct. And in that segues, then, as we've been talking about the power of the vote, Texas, this past weekend, Texas Republicans revealed their party platform for the state. I know news outlets picked up the whole secession thing, but if you read their platform, Texas wants to repeal the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act. They want to repeal and basically demolish public education. Think about that. Think about Texas as a state. Huge. I don't know how many people have ever been to Texas.
Roughly 40 million people. Second largest state next to California.
It is huge. But the Republicans, because Republicans control that state as well, from the governor down, the state legislature, same thing. I don't know if people remember, right at the beginning of the pandemic, you had Texas Democrats who were trying to fight against a lot of this legislation. They left to go to D.C. to avoid having the numbers in the legislature for the passage of some of these discriminatory racist bills. But Texas, bear in mind, those of us watching, if you live in a state that's Republican dominated, I can guarantee you that your state is modeling legislation coming out of Texas. Just like Texas is one of the biggest, if not the biggest distributors of public education curriculum textbooks.
Yeah, it is. The majority of textbooks, you're right, are made in the state of Texas. You're absolutely right.
And here's the thing. So the blueprint, Texas and Florida have been running neck and neck. Here's what I need Black people to understand. as you sitting in the barbershop, you're sitting in the beauty salon, you're sitting in traffic, you're sitting at home. Understand this. We were led to believe that the 1960s was the watershed moment for black people where we got our rights. Dr. King and others, they marched, they fought, they went to Washington, they got legislation that gave us, at least on the surface, what we deserve. In 2022, everything that we think we have is being erased. And that's not hyperbole. That's not me trying to say something for shock value. Everything that we think we have as people is being erased. I know our community tends to be like, well, I got to go out here and get this paper. I got to get this grind. The economics of what's happening is going to impact us. You know, if you remember, Geno, at the beginning of the pandemic, they talked about the stimulus, and you even got some folks trying to throw jabs at that. Right now, black people are at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder, and there are people who are digging a ditch for us as we speak, so that we're no longer at the bottom, but we're underground. And so they're doing this because state legislatures recognize that with little to no black turnout in the black communities, where we have our numbers in these local elections, Steve Bannon said this. There's audio of him saying that their approach, the extreme right wing, is hyper local. It is hyper local, which means they're going after school boards, city councils, county councils, all the races that impact us directly. So what black people, what we have to do, what black men have to do, because black women, if we're honest, black women have been carrying the civic and civil responsibilities. But what we as black men have to do is we have to step up and we have to take our civic duties more seriously than we have. When you mentioned about the two sisters from Georgia,
Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman, yes.
Yes. What also has to be remembered, Ms. Freeman, that story, I remember when it happened, Ruby Freeman was actually threatened by the publicist of Kanye West.
Yeah. Oh, wait, actually, hold on, AJ. Actually, it was Ruby Freeman's mother, Shay Moss's grandmother. Kanye's publicist went to the grandmother's house talking about making a citizen's arrest. Boy, she lucky that something really bad, because there's something called the castle doctrine, that if you come inside my castle, I got a right to use whatever type of force, even lethal force, if I feel threatened and that my life was in danger.
And that's why it's important for us as black people to understand we can no longer sit on the sideline. We are in the game whether we want to play it or not. And so it's best for us to start developing our plays both on offense and defense. But we are in the game and we got to act like it.
And let me piggyback on what you just said. And then I'm going to do that. And then I want you, so everybody watching, you know, with the barbershop, beauty shop talk, we got some strategies and solutions. But either you play the game or the game is going to play you. Let me say that again. You could not play the game if you want to. Think about, oh, it don't matter, and you know we don't stick together, and oh, you know these white folks are gonna do what they get away with what they can, because in a lot of cases we give away the power. The election that we had, and we got to talk about, there is, as a matter of fact, early voting. You got two more. Well, today the polls close at 7, and you got tomorrow, and in the runoff, shout out to State Representative Crystal Matthews in her runoff election to be the Democratic nominee to be the next U.S. Senator, to beat Tim Scott's ass, get him up out of here. So you got to make sure you vote either tomorrow, if you live in Charleston County, or definitely on Tuesday. But you just
and that's statewide. So
thank you. Yes, statewide.
For statewide, for folks who voted in the Democratic primary last week or 2 weeks ago, you have the opportunity to vote in the runoff. Specifically, you voted in the and this is for U.S. Senator. And like you said, Representative Crystal Matthews. And we have to understand, the U.S. Senate seat is 6 years. We have to understand the time frame, 6 years. So are we willing to give Tim Scott, who has ignored the plight of black people since he's been in political office, are we willing to give him another 6 years to continue enacting, Republican legislation? This man refuses to disavow former President Trump. That on its face, that alone should be enough to disqualify him, at least in black communities, but in white communities, Latino communities, Asian communities as well. But when we start talking about the state of our communities and why the things are the way they are, voting in these types of elections matter. The apathy that exists in the black community, I don't think anything is going to matter. Attitude benefits Republicans. It benefits racists. In fact, they bank on black people not turning out. When you look at what happened in 2019 and 2020, that's why Republicans were pivoting into black communities. That's why a Kanye West entered into the political race to act as more of a distraction, because black people had been showing out. So now we need to take that same energy for your school board, for your city council, for your county council, for your governor. You got a governor here in South Carolina, Henry McMaster, who is a Trump sympathizer. We need to make sure we get him out of office. You know what else we need to pay attention to, even though I don't know if anybody's on the ballot against them? Our Secretary of State.
Yeah.
You want to know how Republicans are able to basically enact their voter fraud type activities? Secretaries of State pretty much oversee elections.
Yes.
So we have to be competitive, and we have to push in all of these races. And as black people, we got more power. We have more power. The same way black people give America its culture, black people give politics their purpose. But we have to understand that.
Right. And we do that by either participating or not participating. Let me just I'm gonna give you all a number real quick. And then we got a few more minutes, so I'm gonna let AJ give you all some solutions. The last election, a couple weeks ago, out of 84% of the people, eligible voters in the state of South Carolina, that could have voted, didn't vote. Only 17% of the people who are eligible to vote didn't vote. Y'all, if you don't like what's happening, if you complaining that Joe Biden ain't doing enough or so-and-so ain't doing enough, do what the MAGA cult did, because there is no more Republican Party. The Republican Party is now a MAGA cult. And what did they do? They showed up. They took it over by turning out and voting. We can do the same thing for the Democrat Party. We can turn it where they even call it the Democratic Party and call it the freedom, justice, and unity, whatever the hell. It don't matter what you call it. It matters what you do. Your action is what matters. So AJ, in the few minutes we got left, so for the brothers and sisters, and especially, and I want to tie this in real quick and weave this in. The Supreme Court, ladies, is about to strike down Roe versus Wade, the decision that's going to allow a state like South Carolina, this got a law in the books. The minute the Supreme Court issues this decision,
it's triggered.
Terminating a pregnancy will virtually be illegal. And it don't matter if you've been a victim of rape or incest. Your body will be property of the state. Go ahead, AJ. I'll let you take it from here and take it on.
So real quick, to take folks home, I need folks to understand, black people, understand this. Voting matters, all right? And we got to stop sitting in barbershops and beauty salons talking about Joe Biden, all right? Joe Biden has his problems. I will never sit up here and defend Joe Biden. But Joe Biden isn't the person that makes sure your neighborhood's got sidewalks. Joe Biden isn't the person that makes sure that if your community floods, it can be addressed. Joe Biden is not the person that's going to address the issues in your school with racist teachers or racist curriculum. That's your school board members, your city and county council members, your state house representatives. And those are the people who bank on you focusing so much on Joe Biden, and hell, even Donald Trump. They're banking on you focusing so much on that you don't look at them. So now, you need to mobilize. We need to be not only at the polls, but we need to be supporting candidates. We love to complain about the current crop of politicians, but the fact remains that we have a state legislature that's full of incumbents, people who have been up there for multiple terms. Why? Because we either don't vote them out or we don't run anybody against them. If you think you can do better, hey, try to run. Find out what it takes to run for office. It's not just about voting. It's about being politically active, okay? Because one thing the MAGA code has taught us, or it should have, is that their action leads to action. That's where I'm going to leave it.
And we need people to be election workers. We need you now more than ever. Contact your county board of elections and say, yes, I want to be an election worker. I'm not going to be intimidated. What we're not going to do, you listen, you're not going to show up to my house because you lost an election. That's what we're not going to do. This is the wrong state for that, okay? So we need folks to show up to be election workers. AJ Davis, man, you are always bringing the fire. Spot on, my brother. So listen, let's talk. If you have some, let's talk next week after the runoff, because that's important. Because really, that's just the beginning. Because
June 28th, Tuesday, June 28th is the runoff.
And then after that, we got November 8th, you all. And listen, we've told you. They always say this is the most important election of your lifetime. Well, this is the election of your lifetime, because you're not going to have much of a life, like AJ said, because now, basically, these states are writing laws to basically create a whole new Jim Crow, to where you won't have any rights. Legally, they will be able to discriminate against you, where you won't be able to vote. You won't be able to get health insurance. A doctor can say, you know what, I don't believe you're a Muslim, or I hear that you're in an interracial relationship. Well, my religion is against that. I believe morally that's wrong. So I'm not going to treat you. If you think this is a game, you think we're playing, okay, then you're not paying attention. AJ Davis, give everybody information if they want to follow you on social media. I know you do consulting if they want to reach out to you. Maybe somebody out there that wants to run for office and they need a political consultant. Here's your man. Give them your information.
So I'm on Facebook as Anjane Davis, Anjene Davis on Facebook. Also, Community Solutions Consulting LLC on Facebook. Low Country Black Parents Association, the Low Country Black Parents Association on Facebook. I am also on Twitter. Again, Anjane Davis, Anjane 1976 at Twitter.com. And my email is ajdavis76 at gmail.com. Any of those, you can hit me up. Again, I appreciate this opportunity, Geno, and I hope that folks understand this is our media with our message, and we need to take advantage of it.
Well, we're going to have this conversation on a regular basis. Your time permits. So as a matter of fact, we're going to run it back next week. We'll find out what day will work for you after Tuesday, because that's so important. We got to really stress the urgency. We're doing it, but we're going to beat this drum. We're going to be like Sheila E. and Prince's Band. We're going to beat the hell out of this drum until y'all ass show up and take 50, 100 damn people with you. Rent a party bus, have strippers, champagne, dice card games, play, tunk, big, whist, whatever we got to do to get you to turn out to save yourself. To save yourself and your freedom and the freedom of your family. This is real, you all. AJ, thank you, brother.
Thank you, Geno. Have a good one.
All right, man. We'll talk to you next week. That's my man.
All right.
Brother, he's on point. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life. As always, God bless each and every one of you. God, most of all, thank you for letting me do the Geno Jones Show. I come to you live Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. 5:30 p.m. in Chicago, 3:30 p.m. on the West Coast. Please subscribe to my channel. Everybody you know and don't know, everybody you like and love, strangers, aliens, tell them all to subscribe to the Geno Jones channel. Subscribe, share, like, and binge watch this and every episode. Email it, copy the link, paste it, copy the link, and text it. Do whatever you need to do with it. Put it up on your pages. Take about 30 seconds out of today's conversation. Put it up on TikTok. Put it up on the Facebook stories and Instagram stories. Let's make it go viral. Shout out to Allie Jones, the official wardrobe consultant and stylist for the Geno Jones Show. She's on Instagram, Lexi with 2 X's, Lexxie_Nicole_designs. Lexi with 2 X's, Nicole_designs, and LX, I believe it's LX_NC on Instagram. You can do a search. And Markel Bailey, the official barber and hairstylist for the Geno Jones Show. He's on Instagram, Kel with a K. Kel B Cutting Up. KELBECUTTINUP. Shout out to everybody that's watching me live. Hello to my #1 fan, my executive producer, my dear mother. Mother, I love you very much. I see all your comments. Thank you for your comments. Shout out to my good buddy, Groove Master Dre. What's happening, Groove Master Dre? Check him out on social media. He's doing his thing. As a matter of fact, Groove Master Dre, Google, do a search, Google, just search him on social media because he's doing his thing. He does live shows. I believe he's got a show here on YouTube. So search him out and follow my man. He's a good dude. All right, the next live edition of the Geno Jones Show is Friday. Tomorrow's going to be Friday, so we're going to have some fun. One of my guest hosts, she is returning, Dakota Rain. So we're going to have a lot of fun. Just kind of just talk about some of the not so heavy stuff. But if something pops off, I'm always here for you. Before I get out of here, let me just say this. As always, please be blessed. Pray for peace. Please pray for peace. Thanks for watching.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of the Geno Jones